Welcome back. This is the fourth chassis in a series of 4 repairs for the same person. The first one was a 7400 and then 3 7000s. So this is the last 7000. And this one has an issue with picture is extremely blurry. Now that could be caused by 4 separate things. It could be simply a bad picture tube. The focus wire that runs from the flyback to the neck could be broken inside, or the wire could be busted, or in the neck socket the wire could be unsoldered. It could be something as simple as that. You could have a bad flyback. The flyback has an internal resistor that's responsible for focus. If that resistor is bad, or that winding is bad, or whatnot, the flyback will have no focus output. But usually what that'll present with is it'll start out focused, and then the focus will drift out of focus the more it's on. Usually when that focus resistor is bad, that's usually what happens. It drifts out of focus as opposed to just having no focus adjustment. The fourth option is going to be a bent focus pin. So if someone was to put the neck board on the tube and they got it on cockeyed or something, and they put it on there and the socket bent the tube, bent the socket, bent the pin. That's the word I'm looking for. The pin coming out of the tube, they put the board on there and it bent the pin, and when they put the neck on completely, the pin bent out of the way. So if the focus pin inside the tube is not sitting in the socket properly and is bent off to the side, that can cause no focus as well. So there's those 4 options there. It's unlikely that it's a bent focus pin or a bad tube. Those are kind of worst case scenarios. It's most likely an issue with the focus wire at the neck socket, or the flyback itself is bad. But we'll find out. So let's open this up and see what condition it's in, and we'll test it and see what we get. Oh man, well, I suspect the flyback immediately because we've got broken pieces of flyback post. I already know exactly what this is. If we look in here at the flyback, there is, it's hard to see, but there's a screw right here, and it holds the flyback in place through a black plastic post on the housing for the flyback, and I can already hear the screw loose. If you listen, well, yeah. And if I look in here, there's nothing left of it. See the screw, and it's all busted off of here. Look at this. A whole bunch of plastic is exposed off the flyback. So, well, we're going to be changing that flyback out. I don't know if I want to even power it on. I probably could in the interest of experimentation, because if you have an arcing flyback, it's not guaranteed to take anything out immediately. It can arc to the frame, momentarily, and your chassis will survive. If it arcs to the frame over a period of time, buzz, 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 you'll eventually take stuff out, but just initially it shouldn't damage anything. I mean, that's what the purpose of the ground is to ground that kind of stuff out. But we have another chassis here that's not as filthy as the previous one. Still pretty dirty, but I don't think I'm going to wash this one because it's not that bad. I can clean up most of it just from alcohol and a brush and while I'm doing the cap kit. But as far as no focus control, it looks like our focus wire is in there securely. It's not falling out, and it's connected to the flyback. Well, we're going to change the flyback out now for a second reason that I see, dirty already, is there's a giant crack in it. Just like the last one, you won't see an original flyback on a 7000 without a crack in it. They don't exist. But it's just a level of severity of this that is the determining factor of whether you want to replace it or not. Oh my God, I wish I hadn't. Let's just pretend I didn't do that. Man. Ugh. I'm going to turn my fan on here. Yeah, so we're going to be changing this one out too. I've got two 7000 flybacks in the stock ready to go. It's cracked all the way across. Yeah. So, it's marked as no focus control, so I think what I'll do is I'm not going to power it up. Well, let's get rid of this here. Let's do our inspection. We'll do all of our testing for electrical components for power application. And assuming everything passes and checks good, I'm going to cut away, do the cleanup, do the flyback replacement, do the cap kit, do the reflow, and then we'll power it up for the first time and see if it still has a blurry image. If it all is perfect, it's going to have to be something on his end, assuming we didn't, you know, now that I think about this, after saying all that, let's inspect it, test it, and then see what it does the way that it is now, because I want to go through and have a good end result. And by what I mean by that is that I want to have a before and an after, because if we do all the fixing on this and we turn it on and it's just fine, I want to make sure that it's something with the chassis that was fixed and not something on his end. So if we hook this up exactly the way that it is now and we have a blurry image, and we don't after the rebuild, then we know that we have repaired this and it's not going to end up being something on the owner's end. If we turn this on and it's fine with no focus problems, I'll still do all the repair work to it, but then we can also confirm for a fact that it is something on the owner's end. That's what I want to do. So in hindsight, after saying all that, I think we are going to go ahead and just test everything, give it a good inspection, and then hook it up and see if it has the focus problem or not. Alright, so that being said, let's test our components. The bottom looks pretty good. We obviously have oxidation here, like always, across R101. I think it's 101, I can never remember. Yeah, R101, this guy right here, this one. There's always oxidation across these two pads. You'll never see one without it, unless it's been reworked. These two pads here and this pad here from R101 just get very hot and oxidized. Everything else looks fairly good. So I'm going to clean up these pads here. Everything else looks pretty good. And so then we can do our testing here. Just real quick, the way I do this is I remove the existing solder and I flow new solder onto it. And of course my iron decided to start powering down immediately when I reached for it, so I have to wait for it to heat back up here real quick. Man. So hopefully this will be a quick and easy fix. Assuming that it does have focus issues, we'll do a full rebuild, and I'm fairly confident that'll fix the problem. If we don't have focus issues, then I'll still do all the work, but it's going to be something on the owner's end, whether it's a bad tube or a bent focus pin. But like I say, that's pretty rare for that to happen. But it does happen. Let's zoom in a bit so you can see what I'm doing here. So I'll remove the oxidized solder. You don't want to reflow back over oxidized solder or it won't stick and you'll end up with a big ball and not a nice shiny connection. So you can really see how oxidized that is. What I like to do is I'll just create a solder bridge from this pad over to, I create a solder bridge across these two to really kind of enforce that joint and to somewhat transfer the heat a bit better so this doesn't happen in the future. So we'll reflow this one. Sometimes you get oxidation on the leg, and you gotta scrape, do a little bit of scrape in there to make it look better. There you go. So those look pretty good. This one here, it looks pretty good on its own. I may just leave it like that. Yeah, let's just leave it like that. 3 nice shiny solder joints. Those look pretty good. So other than that, actually I'm going to hit I think it's R89. There's a ceramic resistor that goes from across these two pads here. I already got that one, but let's get this one too, because it's looking kind of weak. Okay, C38. All right. Let's give it another quick look over here and make sure that everything else looks somewhat okay. Not sure what's going on here. Oh, that's for the wire. All right. Okay, I don't see anything else really popping out that needs immediate. Well, I take that back. D18 looks kind of bad. Let's hit D18 real quick here. You can see this right there. Okay, that's better. Better, but not perfect. Alright, so now let's do our testing here and see if everything's okay. If it is, we'll turn it on and see what kind of focus problems we have. Okay. HOT is good. Voltage regulator 3 and 4. 0.15 is good. If we go to ohms, it should read 180. 181, so that's good. Let's go to continuity mode and test C38. C38 is not shorted. Let's test our C36 critical safety cap. That's not right. I should be reading a voltage drop. It's almost like it's open. That's not right. Huh. That's not an accurate reading. We should have our voltage drop across this point to this point diagonal. We should have our voltage drop. There it is. Now it's there. Why wasn't it there before? Was I doing something wrong? I don't think so. Huh. Let's reflow that just to make sure, because that was not reading properly, and now it is. So I'm going to just throw some more solder on here just to, in case we had a cold solder joint or something. Been known to happen. I'll have to go back and look and see if I was doing something wrong, but I don't think so. You go to your ground plane here. Well, it's not really a ground plane, it's the plane for the horizontal that goes to the flyback, but we go to this big plane here, and you go catty corner, should be voltage drop and voltage drop. Yeah, so I don't know, I wasn't doing anything wrong that I remember, but no big deal. Okay, so HOT, critical safety cap, voltage regulator. Let's test R103, should be 3 ohms, and it is. Okay, let's test our... We tested C38, a width cap that wasn't shorted. Okay, let's test our fuse. Fuse good? Fuse is good, but let's take it out and clean the edges here with how dirty this is. Alright. Rectifier diodes, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, R104 should be 15 ohms. Alright. R101 should be 4.5 ohms to 6.5 ohms in circuit. 4.8, close enough. Then this one here should be 270. That's good. We got 1.8 on R88. Yep, I think R96 should be 1.8. Yep. So those are all good. That's about it. I think we're good for power. All of our resistors are good. Rectifier diodes, HOT, voltage regulator, C38 isn't shorted. Our critical safety caps are good. Alright, so let's actually get a picture tube over here and turn this on and see if it even powers on. If it does, we'll see if it gets, if we have focus control. If we do have focus control, then there's probably either a misdiagnosis here, like on the previous one to this one, with the collapse that wasn't collapsed, or he has something wrong with this tube where it's a bent focus pin or a bad tube. So we're hoping that we actually get some type of focus problem so we can do some repairs and see if we can fix it. So let's get a tube hooked up and cross our fingers. Alright, so while hooking this up, I didn't notice before, but I noticed now that the G2 wire connection had come off. You probably saw that and were yelling at the screen, but I didn't notice it until just now, but the G2 wire wasn't hooked up. Now, if the G2 wire is not hooked up, you'll have a terribly blurry screen. It might not even work properly at all. So I don't know if this was the cause or not, but we're going to hook it back up. It's not on there very securely. I need to squeeze the socket a bit, but I think that might have been the problem. Maybe, I don't know, we'll see. But the G2 wire connection was not plugged in. Now, I don't know if it fell off while I was handling the chassis or during shipment, or this was the original problem. I don't know, but we're going to hook it back up, and then we're going to continue testing here and see what we get. Alright, so we're all hooked up here. We got anode, neck, yoke, ground, video, power, and remote board. So always count to 7. If you have your pots installed on the actual chassis, you can count to 6. But if you do that, get in that habit, always say out loud to yourself, anode, neck, yoke, ground, video, and power. You'll never, and remote board if you have it like this, you'll never damage your chassis from turning it on without, well, forgetting to hook up something and things like that. So get in that habit of saying that out loud, and you shouldn't ever possibly damage something by forgetting to hook something up. That's why you always hear me do that. And I also forgot to mention that I inspected all the pots here to make sure none of them were broken on the remote board and on the neck board, because those aren't so critical. But if you have a broken vertical size pot or something, or horizontal position, and you turn on your chassis with those pots broken, you can cause collapse and blow out your ICs and things like that. So always inspect your pots on a new to you chassis to make sure they weren't damaged in shipping or damaged from someone stepping on their remote board. Always inspect that stuff before you power it up. But we're all hooked up and ready to go. So let's turn our generator on and let's see if it even powers on. And if it does, do we have any focus control? So 1, 2, 3. All right, it powers right up. Well, that's good news number 1. And hey, we got a picture. I got my, oh, hey, what's going on there? Doesn't like something. Let's turn that off. Very interesting, very interesting. Let's, that was interesting. Let's try it again. Turn it on. Turn it on. Oh, yeah. Do I have a hold issue? No, I don't have a hold issue. Let's see. That doesn't, it started out okay. Now I gotta wonder if I got capacitor problems. It almost seems like a very indicative capacitor issue where it began okay, and then as the capacitor charged up, it boop, decided to, you know what, I'm gonna turn this off. I'm gonna wait about 5 minutes. I'm gonna cut right back and see if it happens again. All right, so it's been about 5 minutes, so I want to see if it'll start out okay and wig out again. If it does, I absolutely believe it's a capacitor problem. So let's turn this back on, and I'll turn this on. Let's see what happens. Nope, that's odd. Odd indeed. Why would it start out okay? Yeah, see how we got, well, I think we got a capacitor problem for sure. See how we have this black area as well? This is 50-60 hertz pot problem down here, but if I decrease my vertical size, does that go away? Well, not really. Well, why would it start out okay? Well, this may be what they're referring to, focus problems. This may be what they're talking about. It started out okay, and then it began doing this. Then we have this ripple effect going on over here. So I think our filter cap may be out. I think this could be being caused by the filter cap. Definitely with this little ripple effect over here and all that. So with the condition of this being all original with flyback and caps, let's just go ahead and do our full reflow, full rebuild, you know, all the caps and the flyback and everything that needs to happen to this, and see what it does after that. So I'm going to cut away here, do all that. When we come back, we'll see what it looks like at that point. So one moment. Well, hang on one second, because as you can see, it is working. I decided to go ahead and I thought maybe the test pattern generator might have been causing it. The battery is like 8.2 volts instead of 9, so I don't know if having it low voltage, 8.2 instead of 9, it runs on a 9 volt battery, shouldn't really affect it, but I wanted to go ahead and try some experimentation and just throw an actual PCB in there. I got Arkanoid. It's not JAMA, so I have an adapter here. It's hard to see. But when I put this in here, I mean, it is working now. But we still have our wave, so we absolutely definitely have a bad filter cap. But it is working. And if we turn our contrast back down, you can see we got bad color bleed. There's our contrast down. Brightness should be roughly there. So it is working, but I think, well, there's no think about it. We absolutely have a bad filter cap because the right side of the screen is black, you can see, compared to the right. That is indicative of a problem with our flyback, and then we have these waves. So yeah, it absolutely needs a rebuild, but do we have focus control? If I adjust focus here, let's see if I can get a good screen here. Yeah, we got range on focus. We have good, so I don't think there's a problem with the focus circuit. I think maybe they're referring to this, I don't know. But focus works, so it's not a focus problem. It could be they were referring to all of this problem. So I'm glad I decided to, or thought about putting an actual board on here and testing this, because I've said before in other videos, I like to use real PCBs when testing these out to see what they look like, because I don't always have my trust in the TPG. They work great for what they are, but I prefer to do this testing for colors and screen size and everything with an actual PCB, because this puts out a higher video signal. So if you adjust your brightness contrast based off of this and hook a real board up, it's much brighter or much dimmer depending on the board you use. So I like to actually use an actual PCB, but with an actual PCB, you can see clearly that the game has frozen. But other than that, yeah, I think we absolutely have cap problems. So possible flyback with the black screen. So let's, it is working now. So let's go ahead and do our full rebuild and everything and see how it turns out afterward. But I wanted to show a before here, and then we'll come back and show an after, well, after. So I'm gonna get all this work done. We'll come back and see how it looks in a moment. Okay, so I got everything cleaned up with as much as I could with alcohol and a brush. and it's looking much better. It's a lot cleaner than it used to be. No more dust and dirt and grime, and everything is now good to go. Front and back is done. Full reflow, full inspection, full cap kit, new flyback. Everything is ready to test. But I will say I think I found the problem, because the 4.7 microfarad capacitor that was attached to the neck board here. Obviously you can see I have the new one in. When I took this one out of the neck board, look at this. It was about to explode out the bottom of the neck. Let's get a better contrast here. Yeah, that was about to pop. So I think this was our problem. The top's okay, but it was about to, I don't know if it got so hot that it just boiled and about to explode out the bottom. But yeah, the entire, I think it let all the smoke out. I think this thing popped and all the smoke came out the bottom, and this was the cause of our issue. So yeah, I got all the old caps right there. I got the old flyback there, and we'll put this back on the neck board after we do our testing. So yeah, I think we're ready to go. So I'll get this on the tube again, and we'll see if this made any difference. I'm sure that it will. One more thing here real quick I forgot to mention is I did not have any filter caps. I thought I did, but I didn't have any on hand. So I robbed one from another donor chassis just to put a different one on here. In all actuality, this may have been okay, and I think our problem was all that one pot for the neck. I think this was the cause of everything, but with that wave, I was skeptical of the filter cap. So I just put a different one on from a donor chassis. If it still has the same issue, then we know it wasn't that and it's something else. But I just went ahead and put a different one on just to rule it out as a possibility. So this one may still be good, but we'll go with this one for now. So let's get this hooked up and see what we have. Alright, so we're ready to go again. We got anode, neck, yoke, ground, video, power, and remote board all hooked up and inspected and verified. And I have an actual MK1 PCB now instead of that Arkanoid board. I had repaired this for somebody, and I'm waiting to send it back to them, so we'll go ahead and just use this for testing now, since I suspect that all of our issues were caused by that bad cap on the neck board, and possibly the filter cap. So let's turn it on and go for broke and see what we get. Now the new flybacks, of course, ship with the screen pot all the way down, so I turned it up a little bit. And in preparation for this, so let's turn our brightness and contrast all the way down. So let's turn this on and see what happens. Okay, powered right up. Must not have put any caps in backwards, so that seems okay. Nothing's exploded yet. And of course, we're not going to have an image until I turn up our flyback. So let's see what happens when I do that. Nothing. Very interesting. Nothing. Let's turn it back down all the way and turn it up about a quarter turn. And let's try our brightness and contrast. Hey, there we go. Oh, my horizontal's backwards. But no big deal there. Okay, so now we have an image, and hey, it's good. Yep, of course we got to adjust focus. Let's fix that real quick. Oh man, that is crisp. Alright. So our focus appears to be perfect. I went ahead and put all the color pots to center. So that's why it looks overly blue. But we have definitely a good focus adjustment. Each position. Let's move it over this way. Okay, we're too wide, but I can fix that. But for now, let's go ahead and turn. We don't always get raster lines. It depends on the situation, but ideally I'd want to turn this up until I got raster lines. But yeah, that's maxed out. There's no raster lines. So let's just turn it back down and turn it back up to roughly there. Then we can supplement with our black level. See, we want our brightness to be right there. We don't want any light in the background. So roughly in person, it's going to be right there. Now vertical size. Do we have vertical size adjustment? We do. We're going to end up going right. Let's do vertical position. We want to bring this up a bit. There we go. And that's it right there. Let's get a match going so I can adjust our width here. Okay, yeah, see, look how we're way too wide. So we need to get our adjustment tool and get our adjustment tool and our coil. And let's see if we can adjust it here. Indeed. Let's keep going. That's the limit of the travel I have for that, which should be fine. Each position. So now we have, there we go. We have equidistant on the left and the right. So it looks to be good. Disregard the backwards image. I just have my horizontal coil flipped, so that's nothing. Yeah, so success. We got all of our controls. We have a full perfect square image. No more waviness. We have good focus control. Of course, colors are terrible because I'd have them all set to center, and there's no reason to go through and adjust them because it's not staying on this tube. But yeah, so we'll call this one a success as well. So all 4 chassis now up and running and working great for this person. And I will send them back to them, I'll send them back to him, or that person, here shortly. So thanks for watching. Glad this turned out well. And I think it was all down to that single neck capacitor and possibly the filter cap, but you never know. So, all right, stay tuned. I got 2 more K7400s right here on the floor. You can probably see them over there. And those will be the next series of videos on the chassis. I think both of them are completely dead, not ticking, or I have to go back and look, but I think they either are ticking or have no power at all or totally dead. I can't recall, but we'll go through them when we unbox them and do the testing, and we'll see how they turn out. But for now, we have another working K7400. Oh, sorry, K7000. The 7400s are on my mind because I was just talking about them, so I'm old and senile, just forgive me. But all right, so again, yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something, and stay tuned for the next repairs, and we'll see you next time.